Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Hope you're enjoying the radio. That's something that we're trying new this week. The Miss has been sorting out for us. Yeah, it's been pretty good, I think. I think some of the team are listening to that on a 24/7 basis by the looks of it, so maybe it's getting into their heads. But yeah, it's really good to see everyone on this You Heard Week 26. I'll just do a quick round table, hand off to everyone else.
Yeah, no, love us some lo-fi radio. Yeah, hey everyone, happy Friday. Good to see you all.
All right, Swally, thanks for joining.
Hey, happy Friday, guys. I don't know about you, but I am ready for the weekend.
Oh, guys, nice to see you.
Yeah, I think that was everyone. Okay. I feel like a lot of pressure now from that radio. It feels like I need to be really entertaining and talk like a radio DJ. But yeah, I think the plan this week is to firstly give a quick update again on the V3. But the main topic is going to be Era 3 and what's coming after launch for yAxis and dropping a little bit of alpha, I think, during the call too. And also planning to announce the winners of the Halloween contest that went on this week. So yeah, if that sounds good, I'll plow on with the V3 update. So Monday we shared a quick note on the two issues that had been slowing us up. The first was about a big, large patch that we've been doing for the harvest and the strategies. And we were writing extra unit tests for that just to make sure that the patch was more robust. That's been done now. The second issue was getting the rewards and the emissions to behave correctly between the different vaults and the gauges, of course. So we were able to mint rewards just to the yAxis vaults, but not to the others. And we were diving through the various contracts and deployments to understand just why exactly that was happening. So just today, we've now got the emissions to work across the different vaults on the latest deployment. So we're just confirming that works for different user types as well. And then hopefully now we can tick that box and move on. So yeah, that's a big relief. The curves, it's taken like a little bit of time because the curve contracts that we're using are all written in Viper, and we use Solidity, of course. So to test each new deployment takes quite a long time due to just the time required to compile Viper. So that's why it takes a little bit of time to test each new deployment to see if it works. In the meantime, though, we've been using the last week or so to input more into the V3 on the front end. So both the new design refresh and adding some niceties around the boosting and distribution functions, things that were going to come after launch, but we're using this time to squeeze in as much as we can to make sure that it's done effectively. Yeah, I mean, on things like launch dates, people are asking across Discord and on Telegram all the time. We got a lot of pushback saying or asking us not to put hard dates on in case they were missed. And now we're getting lots of demands for hard dates. So it's like it's not a win-win situation. So for us as a team, we're just plugging on and we'll launch as soon as we can. Whether that is Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, it doesn't really matter on the exact day. It's real close to happening. So we do the testing for a reason, and it's not a guarantee that things are going to go perfectly. So if something does pop up, we have to, of course, address that issue, and that makes an effect onto the timeline, which we've done. So we're almost there. So that's the V3 launch update. I'll just hand over to Big Pappy, who's going to go through some of the Era 3 and Dow stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Good update on V3. So what I'm going to be talking about is a little bit more focused on the community. And I want to emphasize that these are things that, by and large, are being done, by us moderators. Definitely not drawing from the core team. We don't want to distract them, right? So these are fun things that we're working on the side, especially going into V3. Some new things that we want to introduce to yAxis. First, let me say for the game night this past week, it was a lot of fun. I hope that more of you guys can come in and join me in. I was the imposter a few times. I feel bad. I had to kill a few of you, but I hope we're still friends. Other thing is, if you look in the Herd channel, by now you probably saw a video called yAxis Nft World. So I'm just going to talk for a second about what this is. One of the things that we're talking about for yAxis is looking at the big picture. Where's the crypto community going beyond just DeFi, right? Of course, we want to hit a home run. We want to have a industry-leading DeFi project, but we also want to think big picture. What really is of interest? What's really hot right now? And that is NFTs. NFTs are here to stay. They're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the interesting projects out there is something called Nft Worlds, which, if you looked at the video, basically it's 10,000 worlds minted on Ethereum. They live on the blockchain. Changes you make to those worlds are reflected in that NFT. And slowly they're rolling out more and more features. It's very interesting. And if you start dipping your toes into NFTs, you start dipping your toe into the metaverse stuff, which, if you follow the Facebook news, is kind of a really hot topic in not just in the crypto world, but in the larger IT industry. So what this gives us the ability to do some things that we're looking at, and you'll see highlighted in that video that we posted. For example, it could be a DAO meeting room. It could be that you integrate smart contract interactions. So we would give tokens to certain users, in some capacity, and that will allow you to interact with a smart contract in some way. Community residences. I put a picture inside the video of one of many residences that we would like to award to members of the DAO and members of the community in the future. And then also the community game nights and all kinds of other fun stuff, right? We're thinking long term that this is where we could really carve out a very interesting little NFT community for ourselves within the project that could also integrate into the smart contract. So that's something that we thought was pretty interesting that you guys might be interested in. That's definitely a V3, post V3 rollout. Multiplayer is not quite released. That's coming in a few weeks, according to their project lead. So it's definitely a work in progress. But once we get to that point, we'll be excited to start inviting you guys into the world and even start recruiting. Maybe if someone has a particular skill set and they want to help us continue to build it out, let me know. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is just the Dow transition. All this talk about the community, and I know some of you are probably thinking, well, this is DeFi. Where's the Dow? When are we going to see a more mature Dow? I can tell you that we've been talking extensively, with the project team, with the moderators, and looking at trying to formulate a roadmap and a decision, path that we will engage you guys in. This isn't something, obviously, that we're going to design all ourselves. This is going to be a community developed DAO that we want to work, to implement. But to get those initial foundational documents that we all want to go and review and start a dialogue on, that's coming soon. That's going to be a post V3 discussion and definitely a theme of the V3 new era 3. All right, and for the final two things, we're going to talk the Halloween events and the community participation events, the end of era prizes that we had. So first thing, let me say thanks for the Halloween contributions. I think we had some really interesting art, some really interesting costumes. Thank you for the reminder of those just terribly frightening costumes I used to wear as a kid 20, 30 years ago. According to the community votes, the number one carving, that goes to Abuchino. So congratulations, sir. You earned yourself some yAxis. The best artwork goes to Finn K. That bull actually is fantastic, sir. That's I really enjoy that. The best decorations go to SRA1. And then the best costume, which was really quite clever. If you guys haven't seen it in the chat, it's actually one of my favorite costumes I've seen this year. Very well done, and it looks handmade. To Sergey Popovici, I apologize if I said that wrong. So to all of you guys, congratulations. We will DM you and coordinate the yAxis that you earned as a prize. Now to the community participation. So let me preface this by saying it is not easy. Crypto is never easy, right? It's always an adventure. You have good days, you have bad days, you have long days. So we wanted to reward people that through thick and thin have been participating, have been active, have demonstrated a show of support, and stuck through it all as we're about to release V3. And so we have 5 awards we want to give. First, the most active community member. So I went and I looked at, okay, who's active and who's who's interacted the most on Discord, right? Who's posted the most? Zemus, congratulations, sir. You have posted way too much. I'm actually kind of concerned. You might need to take a break, sir. Most memes is the second one. We all need to laugh sometimes. That goes to BB45. Thank you for posting 3 times more memes than anyone else. Now I want to note this one's kind of a little bit subjective, right? What we thought was, hey, who really came out and did a very cool show of support? Who did something that kind of stood out to us? And Irish Pride 1IN had his son go to a temple and give a little prayer to yAxis. I thought it was simultaneously very cute and actually really cool of you. So we thought that stood out to us, like, wow, really, really neat. So you, sir, win what I would say is a cool show of support for the project. Now to the OG member, who is the oldest active member, going back to the very first week that yAxis went live, Amy Tools. So thank you, Amy, for sticking with us for over a year now. And then our yAheard biggest contributor. So who is asking the tough questions? Who is actively participating in yAheard? And that is Abu Chino, his second prize for today. So to everyone, I just want to say a big thank you. And again, to emphasize, this is very much community driven. This is the moderators, myself, working very hard to bring something more to the community. And especially going into Era 3, where we expect to see a nice influx of new members and a growing population. We want to continue to find new and interesting things that can engage you guys and engage the larger community to make yAxis a fun place, not to just invest your money, but invest your time. Yeah, so that's it. And I'll pass it back to you, Bobby.
All right. Thanks a lot, Pappy, for filling us in. Congratulations to the winners. And yeah, I'm really psyched actually about the yAxis metaverse that you're building there, because I can see a ton of things that we can do there for the community. And especially as the DAO is going to become a really important part of Era 3 and then Era 4, of course. It's a great way to both engage people and also to kind of define roles within the metaverse as well, and play lots of different games and award prizes and stuff like that. So, even hold meetings or events there. There's so much we can do with it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. So yeah, I guess it's down to me to drop a little bit of alpha now. Let's talk alpha. So one of the new features that we're going to be introducing in V3 is the lending and borrowing of funds. So lending is of course like a super popular financial service, especially in DeFi. What we're going to do is to have loans based on a collateralized debt position, a CDP. There's several lenders, of course, out there. You've got Maker and Sushi, Alchemix, Abracadabra is doing well. There's a recently launched one called Moki, and they've certainly validated the market and shown the type of users that are out there wanting to use it. So I think that the implementation that we've got combines the best elements of them all, and it aligns with our vision of making DeFi easy. But it is limited to working just within yAxis as an integrated feature rather than being a standalone platform with a huge scope attached to it. So why are we going to do that one? Well, what we've seen is that Vault Capital is pretty mercenary. They come in, they farm, they dump, and they move on to the next project. And that's not good for us, right? So trying to attract that TVL through giving out lots and lots of emissions just ends up hurting the token price in the project. So what we do want is to really attract that sticky capital in, and there's 2 ways to do that. The first is through doing a yield as a service, for example, that Yearn Finance does. So that's how Yearn is able to have $500 million TVL in a USDC vault with 4 or 5% APY. It's not because it's a really attractive return, it's because other platforms are plugging into it and using them as a Lego block. So that's one method. The second method for sticky capital, which is proving popular through these borrowing platforms, is by allowing people to, lending out a chunk of stable coins to people that they can then play with elsewhere. And that's either to do more farming with, or that's to withdraw to fiat to buy a car or something, or just to to bet on Bitcoin or whatever. So for that service, people are willing to lock up their collateral into a long-term, low-risk kind of vault. and that effectively makes your sticky capital. So for them, they're basically borrowing years worth of their future yield gains. And for us, we get that sticky capital, which slowly then pays down the debt, earns us fees until it unlocks their collateral. So it's going to bring in lots of TVL to our vaults. It will, like I said, be a revenue source for the DAO without needing to hand out emissions all the time. So it's a perfect partner that works with the yield aggregator in tandem. They both kind of complement each other. The more yield we can generate, the faster the loans are paid off, and then the more loans we can give out, the more TVL in our vaults and more fees that we're generating. And the more fees we generate, of course, the more valuable yAxis becomes, which then starts a positive flywheel effect. So alongside that, we'll of course need to have our own yAxis stablecoin. We did a competition earlier to bring the names for that. The winner's yet to be announced, but I've got a pretty good idea of which it should be. So the stablecoin will have to have an incentivized 3-curve pool to help trade between our stablecoin and the others, and also to help keep the peg. So we'll want to have our stablecoin 3-curve pool added to the curve gauges in order to get a share of the CRV rewards, and then onto Convex to get CVX incentives as well. And then we can use things like the bribe system to attract more rewards distributed towards us and make it an attractive thing to supply liquidity for us. So we're planning to start small. It'll just be like, for example, $50 million available to be loaned out, and we'll limit that. That's to maintain the stability of the peg and to make sure we don't need too many emissions at first, just to maintain it whilst we get loaded up onto Curve and Convex. So that's going to be our big major development focus after V3 goes live. The contracts are actually already finished, and the UI is going to go into design, and that should be finished within a week, and then we can actually start kind of implementing it. So it's actually going to happen fairly quickly, which is really cool. And I think it's going to be a fantastic value add to the platform, and like I said, to work alongside the yield aggregator. So that's your little alpha for the week, and I hope you enjoyed it. I guess on to the Q&A, Pappy, if you've got some in the channel.
Hey, Bobby. So we have me some is typing, so I want to wait and see if they have a question. But it's a quiet week. I think everyone's really excited about V3 and focused on that, and we really didn't get any new questions this week that don't apply to V3.
I think something else to say is that we've been working really hard on the terminology used for the gauges and V3, because it's really confusing, and there's been so many questions about it in the community, of course, and that's totally understandable. And there's lots of questions from the team even as well. It's not something that's really obvious to everyone. So we've been trying to make sure that we are aligned internally, so that when we write all the documents which go along with it, and when we speak about it publicly, we can make sure we're using the simplest possible descriptions and terminology to not confuse people. If you look at Curve's UI, it's pretty horrendous. So we're trying to stay away from that and make sure that it's quite an intuitive experience for people.
Yeah, I would say if you've never visited the Curve website, I highly encourage you to, because the user interface is extremely interesting, to say the least. Okay, so Misam's question, and it's a good one. So he's asking about the new lending features in the stablecoin, which he said is awesome for yAxis. Will that need a separate audit?
Actually, yeah. So we've already got it in review. So like I said, the contracts are finished. So we were using some guys that were participating in C4. So they're having an initial look through to make sure it's fine. It's essentially based off a fork. So that fork's already been audited as well. We've just made some changes to some of the way that it works. So yeah, for sure, those things are best to be officially audited. And I think what we're probably planning to do is to do a mini competition using C4 again, because they were so fantastic before. So rather than do a full weeks-long competition with them, they also do a package where you can have like a long weekend kind of thing, and just allowing people to plow into it. So I think that's probably the best route, given the fact that most of the code has already been audited.
Yeah, I think that the C4 stuff is actually probably some of the best value. I think the best investment that we've made. These guys have done such great work for us up until now. So Broje asked a question. He said, "Sorry if I missed this. What will the stablecoin be backed by? Vault deposits or algo?"
By deposits. It's a collateralized debt position. So for us, we're planning to have an LTV of up to 85%. So if you deposit 100 of the collateral, you'll be able to borrow 85 stable coins off of that. So it's also going to be an interest-bearing token which you deposit. I'm trying to keep that quiet for now. But yeah, it's an interest-bearing token as well, which allows us to more confidently raise the LTV up to 85%.
All right, and then Misum came back. Okay, so we got a few questions trickling in here. All right, so Misum said, very nice. So ballpark, when are we aiming for lending? Or he's already predicting yAxis as a name there, or yAxis to be live.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, the contracts are finished actually. So we do want to do a mini review thing, and the whole UI for it needs to be built, but that's not necessarily such a big thing to do. So yeah, I don't want to get into dates and stuff, but it's not like it's going to take us 3 months or anything like this. It's going to be a lot quicker, and hopefully have it, roughly like the middle of era 3 in like 6 weeks or 2 months. Something roughly like that as a ballpark, but please don't hang me on that.
All right, so we have some more good questions coming in. So Abu has a few here. So he's asking a little bit more about the lending. So, and I'm just going to preface this by saying I think we may want to just maybe put together a little bit of an article on this at some point. But is there any more that you can explain about how the lending works, the mechanics of it, Bobby, or is that a little bit too much for this?
Yeah, we'll type up something. We're just trying to introduce the concept during your head. Okay,
sounds good. All right, and yeah, actually, this is a good question. So when exploits happen, do we also check? And I think you're thinking probably recently of the Cream exploit, for example. Do we also check and look at whether we have those same vulnerabilities?
For the Cream hack? No, we don't have the same.
Or just, I guess, just generally, right? In general, is what he's asking. Or he's also, asking, is it project specific? As in, are these due to maybe their code, their Cream specific code in this case had a vulnerability that we probably wouldn't have because we're built differently?
Yeah, I mean, this is why it's really good to do the audit process to try and make sure that these loopholes don't exist. But I think, like I saw someone comment earlier on it, that the problem with DeFi is that some bad actors are exceptionally talented, right? So if the developer that has created the code isn't as good as that hacker, then sometimes they can see things which the developer didn't notice or doesn't know. And sometimes these things aren't revealed until later. But I think generally DeFi is getting a little bit stronger, just as people learn from each other's mistakes, or people use the open source code to fork different features and make sure that their platforms are robust, essentially. Yeah, I mean, it's of course something which is always a possibility, and you need to keep on looking into your code. But it's for sure important that you understand how your code works and to make sure that it has been audited, rather than just forking something and releasing it without really understanding how it works, especially if you've made changes to it. So that's one reason why we'll certainly go back to C4 for our lending feature, because we have made just a few changes to it. So we want to make sure that doesn't have any kind of knock-on impacts to the code.
All right, thanks, Bobby. So I think we have 2, maybe 3 more questions here. The first one is from Abu, always with very, very advanced questions. So there are several growing platforms for swapping floating to fixed. I give examples of Strips, Pendle, Element. And he asked if there's any thoughts on whether we would consider fixed APY.
No, not at this time. It's something that actually I was really pushing for when I first, before I joined the team myself. This is like a year ago now. I was really pushing for fixed APY. I think it's something that is really good. However, with that, you start to lose some of the transparency of the contracts when you start guaranteeing people a certain amount and not more. For us, we just hand all the yield basically on and take a cut for ourselves. If you start limiting that back to a fixed amount, then things maybe aren't as transparent, which is not really what we were going for initially. It's not really our vision. But yeah, we can look to see how it's possible to implement that in the best possible way. I do definitely understand that people love the idea of a fixed APY. But for us, we also need to protect ourselves in the future, because you could end up getting in a lot of trouble for that. We don't know what's going to happen to yields inside a bear market, for example. And if you're signed up to guarantee someone yield one way or another, you could end up completely destroying your own token value. So you do need to be careful about how that is, or have at least some disclaimers on top of that.
Thanks, Bobby. All right, last two questions. The first one is, how difficult is the implementation of another DEX LP derivative token in the future?
How difficult is it? It's not really what we do to have we're not looking to build a DEX, if I understand the question correctly. Or if you're talking about introducing like a sushi LP, if that's what the question is, then yeah, it's something that we've been thinking about for a long time to run a sushi LP, just to have, and especially now that we're moving towards convex-based pools, which also would benefit from having a sushi LP. At the moment, we do our harvests. We've had to amend our harvest function to go through sushi as well. And yeah, maybe it's something we can think about in the future. Some of the team, when we were talking about it, pushed back on the idea because they thought it might be a waste of tokens. You need to either choose sushi or Uniswap, for example. For me, I was open to doing both, but I got talked out of the idea in view to kind of save tokens overall. But yeah, it's something that's still in my mind. I think a lot of projects do run two different LPs, and it can be successful as long as you don't end up just giving out tokens just for the sake of it. As long as it's actually adding value to the project, then that's fine.
Yeah, it actually sounds like that might be a good topic for a future DAO discussion. And then his final question. So regarding the lending feature, I know this is just newly announced, so if you don't have an answer, I think that's okay, right? But Kexpone is asking where the feeds for that are coming from, if it's using Chainlink. Yeah,
from two ways. So when people take out a loan, we'll add on 0.5% to their debt position. So that 0.5% will either be going into the liquidity pool, so that we slowly own the liquidity. I think that's a really cool thing to do. But we could also use that just to go back into yAxis and provide more value for yAxis holders. The second source of revenue is just from the performance fees on the vaults. So if all that TVL is coming in via the collateral, right, for people that are using the lending feature, that's going into our vaults, and then we're keeping the performance fee from that as well. So it's a way for us to earn a performance fee without giving out lots of tokens. So it's a win-win for us.
All right. And Kexpone said, cool, thank you. And with that, Bobby, that is the last of our questions. So I'll pass it back to you.
All right, cool. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this week. It's pretty cool. We're coming up towards the end of the era, and V3 is on the horizon now. So yeah, thanks again for people sticking with us. We're going to type up something about the lending feature for sure. Feel free to reach out to me or ask in the general about it as well. We've made basically 4 key changes, which I think are improvements over what has been done before. They're not necessarily unique, but just a unique combination of things which should make it an attractive platform to have and a positive for us as a platform. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, everyone, and I guess I'll hand off to Mr. who's going to kick off the radio.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll turn the radio back on. Feel free to hang out for a little bit, but thanks for joining. I did want to say one quick announcement before we go. The coins and the merch are ready. We just need to understand how much information folks are willing to share, because we will be shipping this stuff out, mailing address, stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that. But happy Friday, y'all. Thanks for joining. See you next week.